How you doing? I'm Darren with Ash Kickin' Barbecue, and today we're talking prime rib. Now, Christmas is right around the corner, and for a lot of folks, that means they're gonna be cooking some prime rib, and that's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna be smoking this out on the pellet grill using cooking pellets, Hickory Pellets, which I absolutely love hickory with beef, specifically prime rib. We're gonna get this seasoned up, we're gonna get a dry brine on it. So let's bring you in and show you how we're gonna prep this prime rib. All right, guys, so the prep on this prime rib is going to be incredibly simple. Now, what I have here is about a 4.22 pound prime rib. You can see it looks really nice. This has been aged for at least 17 days. We've got a little bit of a fat cap on here, but this is going to cook up really nice, especially out on the pellet grill. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to get a little trim on it. And for me, a lot of people leave this fat cap on. I like to take some of it off so I can get a good crust around the outside. So that's what we're just going to start by doing. And we don't want to take any of the meat off. So just make small cuts. Small cuts means small mistakes. So we're just going to go ahead and start taking some of this fat off so we can just build a really nice crust around this prime rib. You can see we have some really nice marbling in there. This is going to be absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to go ahead and shave off some of this fat, all while trying to keep as much meat as possible. All right, guys, and you can see we have the prime rib trimmed up. It looks really good. This is going to allow us to get a really nice crust all throughout our prime rib. So at this point, we're just going to get this down. You can see I really didn't trim off that much. There's just a lot of fat in there, a little bit of meat. If you want to save this and make tallow or for sausage, absolutely go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get this set to the side. And also, you don't have to trim it if you don't want to. This is just the way I like to do it. If you want that fat on there, go for it. I know a lot of people enjoy that, but for me, I want that nice crust all around. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take, for a roast this size, we're going with 2 pieces of butcher twine, and I just like to get those laid out. All right, and now you can see that I have the twine laid out, and we're just going to go ahead and tie this off just to kind of help keep it together. And what I like to do is just take this twine, go through once, go through twice, and then when you cinch it, it's going to hold. You can go through and tie it off, and it doesn't have to be tight. You just want to help hold it together. We'll repeat the process with this one. You can see we have our roast tied up. It's looking good. Now what I want to do is I just have some kosher salt here, and we're just going to go ahead and season up the prime rib pretty liberally. This is a big chunk of meat, and we want to be able to have this salt absorb into the meat while it's dry brining. And ideally you want to get this seasoned up and dry brine it overnight. I don't have that luxury today, so I'm just gonna let it go for as long as I can. But I would say if you can, at least try and do an hour per pound, but overnight is best. It's gonna allow that salt to draw into the meat and flavor all the way throughout the meat. And when you're seasoning this, don't be afraid to go heavy with your kosher salt. It's a coarser salt, so it looks like a lot of salt, but it really isn't a ton of salt on there. So we're just gonna go ahead and make sure we have this all evenly coated. And at this point, we're gonna get it onto a rack and get it in the refrigerator. So I'm gonna let this dry brine for a few hours, and I'll bring you back when we finish prepping this. All right, guys, so it has been about 5 hours since we dry brined this prime rib, and you can see we have a really nice deep red color, and that's going to be even more pronounced if you do this overnight. But you can see there's no more salt on the surface of this. It means it started sucking in and penetrating into the meat, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now we're going to finish seasoning this up, and the first seasoning we're going to be using is this PS Seasonings Chop Shop. This is a really wonderful seasoning, and I'm super excited to try it on prime rib. So the first thing I want to do is get the non-presentation side seasoned. So go ahead and flip that over, and we're just going to go ahead and get a light layer on. And this just has some coarseness to it, and it's going to give us a really good crust on here. Now once we have our chop shop on, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit it with a little bit of this prime time rub. It's a buttery beef rub from PS Seasoning. I haven't tried this yet, so I'm really looking forward to trying it on prime rib. It's supposedly made for prime rib, and again, you're going to see some nice coarseness to it, and that's what we're looking for to help build that crust. So we'll just get that pressed in like so. You can see a lot of nice coarseness to it. This is going to be really, really good. Now at this point, we're going to just flip it over, and we're going to repeat the process on the top side. And actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and just kind of shake this chop shop on. And then we'll get that pressed in. We're going to make sure we get our sides. A lot of nice coarse garlic in there, peppers. And then we're going to come in with our prime time. Make sure we get the top cap here. Get our sides. And you can use whatever seasoning you like. If you want to just use a salt, pepper, garlic, or just salt and pepper, absolutely go for it. But I like stuff that has a lot of coarseness to it to help really build that delicious crust that we all love with prime rib. All right, and now we have our prime rib seasoned up. I'm just gonna let it hang out and sweat a little bit. We're gonna get it out onto the Traeger. We're gonna be running at 225 degrees. I have the hopper loaded up with cooking pellets, Hickory Pellets, because I really love the way that hickory goes with prime rib and just beef in general. Has really good flavor. So I'm just gonna let this hang out and we'll pick back up when we're outside at the Traeger. All right guys, you can see we have the prime rib on the Traeger. We are running at 225 degrees. It's looking really good here. I'm just gonna come out in probably about 30 minutes and just rotate it 180 degrees, maybe 360 degrees. And we're gonna get a probe in it after about an hour. But yeah, looking really good. So I'm gonna let this go and we will see you guys in about an hour. All right guys, we are 1 hour into this cook. You can see I got the probe in there. We're currently sitting at 67 degrees. I have an alarm set for 122 degrees internal because I'm gonna be searing this off with essentially a blowtorch just to get a nice crust on the outside. Now, if you didn't wanna do that, I would set this for 110 degrees internal, pull it off, crank up my cooker to as hot as it would go, get this back in. So for me, I would set my alarm for 110 degrees internally. I'd pull it off, get the cooker up as hot as it can go, and then put it in and let it go to about 125 internally, and then it's gonna carry over about 7, 8, 9, 10 degrees. So that'll get you that medium rare. But for me, carrying it to 122, gonna sear it off, and then we're gonna get it inside and let it rest, and that's gonna carry over to about that 130, 132 degrees. So it's looking really good. So I'll bring you back when it's time to sear it off. All right guys, it has been 3 hours. Our alarm just went off. We were at 120 degrees, 122 degrees, depending on where we probe. So you can see we have some awesome color on here. We're gonna go ahead and get this seared off now. All right guys, and to sear this off, we're gonna be using the grill gun here. And this thing is absolutely awesome. So we're gonna get a good sear on this. We're gonna bring it inside and we're gonna let it rest. Now we will spin it around and we will hit the other side. Check that baby out. We got a really nice sear on there. Nice hard sear. Looks absolutely awesome. So we're gonna get this in the house. We're gonna let it rest for about 30 minutes and then we'll dive in. We're gonna do a taste test. So see you guys in 30 minutes. All right guys, it has been 30 minutes. We went ahead and let this prime rib rest. It looks absolutely awesome. It smells amazing. I can smell the hickory from those cooking pellets. Hickory pellets, which like I said before, is my favorite on beef. I know this is gonna be absolutely delicious. It feels tender. We got juice on the board. All that's left to do is bring you in, slice into it, and we're gonna see how we did. So let's check it out right now. All right guys, check that out. That looks awesome. Nice hard sear on there, crisped up that crust. Now it's time to slice into it and see how we did. Check that out, guys. That is a perfectly cooked prime rib. Wall-to-wall pink. That looks absolutely fantastic. Look at the juice on the board. I mean, that is a wonderful prime rib right there. I cannot wait to try this. You guys, just check that out. That is perfectly cooked prime rib. Perfect medium rare, which is how prime rib should be in my opinion. If you like it a little more done, take it a little bit higher internally before you pull it off, maybe 125, 128, somewhere in there. Your carryover is gonna get you more of a medium, but this is exactly how I like it, and this looks absolutely phenomenal. So let's bring you out and we're gonna do a taste test. All right guys, it is the moment of truth. We're gonna go ahead and try this. I'm just gonna slice me off some of the spinalis right here. Nice little chunk, got some nice bark on there. Cheers. The flavor on this prime rib is absolutely fantastic. You got the smoke from the hickory pellets from cooking pellets, which is out of this world. You got the salt penetration on the salt brine, which really adds something special to the meat. You have the Chop Shop coarse ground seasoning, which really did a nice job with this crust. You have the prime time, which gives that buttery flavor. This is an absolute must try. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and we will see you next time.